evening, everyone. Shavua Tov. We are 6 days before Pesach, Passover, the holiday of the freedom. And tonight, I was asked by Barry Weber to come here and give you a lecture, an hour or so, about things that may be doubts that you may have, questions that you may have. Feel free to ask me now. I was actually in Williamsburg on Thursday, and I was incredible success there. I didn't expect such big amount of people to come. And there are a few Hasidim over there that had doubts in their emunah, in their faith. And after the lecture, the organizer said that they already got their answers. And it was 2.5 hours lecture. Today it's Saturday night. We don't have time to make it that long, but it's up to you. I'm not in a rush anywhere. I always prefer to answer questions and to argue and to search for the truth than to just force a lecture on the people. One of the main problems that we have in this generation, which probably apply to each one of us, include myself, is receiving false information, which we think that that's Judaism. But apparently, when we find out that it's really not Judaism, we get turned off. And we begin to have doubts about real Judaism as results of fake Judaism. So we have to understand what's considered Judaism, what's not. In Judaism, there are many groups today in the world. If we really review one by one, all these groups are probably 200 years old or younger. People forget that Judaism was here 3,100 years before all these groups started. One person started a movement and thousands followed, and then slowly that movement developed to things that is really not necessarily what Judaism is. You don't find some of the things that they do as important in the Torah. However, what happened is that when people find out that they are a group, they are a part of that group, a part of that movement, and then some of the things eventually don't make sense to them, or somebody writes a book who criticizes what's happened in this movement, then they lose their entire Judaism for no reason. Judaism, remember, it's the only religion that can be proven scientifically. There's more than 80,000 religions and cults who started after Judaism, all trying to imitate the real religion of God. The only religion who started in front of millions of witnesses is our Torah. We have nothing to be ashamed of. The whole entire world, the honest Gentiles, and I have thousands of emails from them, all over the world, from more than 100 countries, they would die to be Jews, dying to be Jewish. They'll give everything they have. Some of them write to me letters. I give my house, my business. I leave it to my wife and my children. If you only tell me that you accept me in your community in New York, tomorrow morning I leave everything and I come just to learn Torah, to be a kosher Jew. And I have thousands of emails like this. Why? They know they're not dumb. They're very clever. They see their religion, a story of one person, nobody even know if it ever happened or not. And they read in the Torah that they themselves learn in their churches or their mosque that this was an event that started in front of millions of witnesses. Everything else was a story of one person. Nobody ever saw if it really started or not. Somebody made up a story and that's it. The problem is that among Judaism, one individual decided to start something a little bit unique. This unique costing us a lot of blood. All these unique things, standing in a forest, screaming, doing all kinds of strange things. If it doesn't contradict the Torah, nicha, fine. It's nothing extra, but at least it doesn't hurt Judaism. The problem is that some of these unique ideas are against the principle of Judaism. And it got already to a point, there are many Jews who are willing to give their life to be righteous. They will do everything to be righteous, and eventually they find themselves worshipping an individual, not the creator of the world. That everything in their movement is about that person, is about what he's going to say, what he's going to decide, how he walk, how he talk, and to fight to eat some leftover from his food, without realizing that it's on the border of an avodah zarah. that many of the warnings in the Torah that people worship other people and eventually they worship them and turn into Avodah Zarah without realizing that they're going off the derech. One example is God himself didn't want us to know where Moses is buried. Moshe Rabbeinu, nobody knows where he's buried. Why? If everyone would know where his grave is, everyone will worship him. They'll make him a god. This place will be for all the entire world, not only for Jews. That's why he doesn't want us to know where he's buried. Imagine today we have some rabbis that their grave became a place of idol worshipping, that people come and worship them 200-300 years after they died. It's all about them. If you believe in them, you're a Jew. If you don't believe in them, you're not a Jew, and that's a very serious problem. Some of them means very well, but they don't understand that they're violating the foundations of their religion. Imagine if people would know where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, what would happen? Millions of people would go to a place that it will be 100% idol worshipping. So the point is like this. We have the foundation of Judaism, something that never changed 3,300 years until now. And we have all kinds of unique ideas that were made by people in previous generations. As we speak, about more than 80,000 religions and cults who started after the Torah was given to the Jews in front of millions of witnesses. We have to remember a few things. First thing we have to remember is that the two main religions who started after Judaism is Christianity and Islam. Christianity is 1,300 years after the Jews already had the Torah in their hand, and it's developed and were transferred all over the world. And then almost 2,000 years after Judaism, the Islam started. Today, between Christians and Muslims, you have more than 3 billion people in the world. It's about half of the world is two religions. Speaking about Judaism together with Islam and Christianity, it's very strange. Because how many Jews do you have in the world? Only 13.2 million Jews in the entire world. The amount of news that you have around Israel and the Jewish nation, it seems that we are at least 1 billion people. But we are only 13.2 million. And from these 13.2 million, how many people live by the truth? Maximum 2 million that observe the Sabbath and some of the other commandments. And from these 2 million, if we take them and put them in a net and begin to screen, how many really live by the truth? Only God knows. It's very hard to know. But for sure, not the entire 2 million. We have people from our community that left the area where they grew up and started to criticize Judaism. What really was the reason that this kind of people criticize Judaism? What is the reason that people that consider themselves even today religious have criticism against Judaism? The answer is, believe it or not, that they are 100% ignorant when it comes to Judaism. 100% ignorant. And I know what you're thinking. What do you mean? They grew up in yeshiva, they learn Torah. Yes, there's learning Torah and there's learning the principles and the foundation of Judaism. If you don't have the foundation, you can build a building 100 floors. The foundations are rotten, they're not stable, everything collapses eventually. Some of the people that I show them some of the proofs, they are considered rabbis and they teach Gemara and they control many books. But even they themselves said, I never knew that it's possible to prove the Torah 100% to be divine. I didn't know. Now when I see it, it gives me much more energy and strength to follow it because I understand that it's 100% legit. Let me give you a few examples what I'm talking about. Rule number 1, please never forget this. Judaism is not determined based on the behaving of the Jews. Remember, you do not come to criticize the idea of Judaism, which is a religion was given by the creator of the world in front of millions of witnesses, and it's a fact Christians do not deny it. Muslims do not deny it. Many of the cults out there who started after Judaism adopted ideas from the Torah. The Muslims, the Christians, they believe in heaven and hell. They believe in many ideas that comes from the Torah. They learn it from the Torah. They use the names that the Torah has. The word Isaac is Yitzchak. The word Ibrahim, it's Abraham. They use the same names. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Hamas website, and I will erase the word Hamas, you won't even know that it's an Arabic website. Why? 90% of there is parts from the Torah. Ibrahim, Sarah, Isaac, Ismail. This is all parts from the Torah. So none of them deny that the Torah is legit. None of them. There are Jews who deny the Torah is legit because they never learned Judaism. I had few famous debates, one of them with a Christian professor. I actually even had a debate with the state controller of New York, Yossi, which is a professor for history. When I met him in a lecture, it's on my website, 45 minutes. He started to criticize and ask questions. After 45 minutes, I asked him by the end of the lecture, what do you have to say now? So he said, I still have some doubts. So I say to him, we made a great progress. You came here as zero believer, now you have some doubts. And that's in one lecture. Let's sit one-on-one, I'll clarify all your doubts. 10 days later, we sat for 3 hours, one-on-one. By the end of the 3 hours, he said to me, I'm amazed. I never believe a religion can be proven 100% scientifically to be divine. Never believe it's possible. I always thought it's a matter of faith. As a matter of fact, if you go to the priest in a church and ask him questions, how do we know the New Testament is legit? How do we know JC really lived? How do we know he really made miracles? The answer is we have to believe. Spiritual things cannot be proven scientifically. That's the answer they give. Also, when you come to the Qadi in a mosque, you ask him, how do I know Muhammad really got the Quran from Angel Gabriel? How do I know those things in the Quran is really legit? We have to believe. It's a matter of faith. But in our Torah, that's not what God said. God didn't tell us to be believers. Believing in science means not knowing. God told us you must know 100% that I am the creator, I am the boss, I run the show. If you listen to me, you benefit. You don't listen to me, you lose a lot. That's it. You must understand 100%. We are not talking here about believing. We are talking 100% you should know. There is many places in the Torah that it say you should know. You should know I'm God. You should know I'm the God. You should know I'm the God. The camera. Camera's there. You should know I'm the God that took you out of Egypt. You should know there's no other God but me. There's no one before me and will never be one after me. Many people ask this question. Everything in our world has a beginning and an end, right? This table, once one person made it, eventually it would be over from the world. Everything in life, people live 70 years, they died, the body goes to the grave and it's over. So they ask, so everything that was manufactured by any creator, the carpenter, the engineer, the car manufacturing company, so we know who created the car, who created the table, who created the electric, we know everything. Who created God, they ask in that case. This is a question that you hear, usually children ask this question, but many adults has the same question. If everything has a beginning and an end, so the answer is, first you know that the scientists used to think that this world was always exist, always. Now, in recent generation, they came to the conclusion that the world has a beginning and an end. It started somewhere, by someone, and then eventually it would end. But when we ask this question about God, the creator of the world, what was his beginning? Who made him? Then we have a serious problem because we are getting confused here. So the answer is, this is another question who comes from ignorance. Ignorance creates many dilemmas in life. Ignorance is the biggest enemy of a human being, not only in religion, in everything. I remember when I got my first computer, I didn't know how to send emails many years ago. So I was sending one by one manually. Imagine it would take me 3 days Till one person, God had mercy on me. Someone walked in and said, what are you doing? I said, I got my computer, I might as well send some emails. I said, no, here, this is how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 3 minutes, hundreds of emails went out. Imagine how many hours I would lose from ignorance about computer. Accounting. You don't know accounting, or your accountant is not up to date, it can cause you millions of dollars losses. Because the IRS just changed recently one of their provision in their rules over there, and it could save you $2 million. He did not know. You send the tax return, you lost $2 million credit. So obviously, ignorance can be very dangerous. What could be a bigger danger than life of eternity? To lose everything from not knowing the book of God, of your Creator? It's the biggest danger. It's the biggest crime for a human being, a Jew or a Gentile, to ignore the book of God. Now remember, there are many, many people who claim God also gave them a book. It takes me 5 minutes to prove that they are not divine. 5 minutes. I can prove 5, nobody has an answer. I'm telling you, I spoke to many scholar Muslims and Christians and priests, and even to the Pope more than 10 years ago. None of them has one answer to the question we ask. We can prove that their book is full of mistakes and contradictions. But remember, nobody ever proved that the Torah has mistake. People are criticizing Hasidim, Litvish, modern rabbis, all kinds of cults among Judaism. And because they see things over there that they don't like, they criticize the book of God, but one has nothing to do with the other. Just because somebody invented a movement that has all kinds of customs that came from the country where they grew up, doesn't mean that if you don't like what's going over there, that's really what God said. And this is a very common problem today. Also, just because you saw a Jew with a yarmulke who stole, is that a legitimate reason to criticize the Torah, that the Torah say many times you should not steal? Just because one soldier in the army went and killed Afghanis over there, does that mean the entire army of the United States is murderers? Just because one politician was caught receiving bribes, does that mean that everyone is receiving bribes? Just because one person who claims he believes in God, right, decided to make a genocide and kill millions of people. And yes, the Nazis claim they believe in God, believe it or not. Just because of that, does that mean this is what God says to do? So one has nothing to do with the other. In the Torah, there's hundreds of things that indicates that a person could never write such a thing. For instance, many of the laws are against human logic. More than 80% of the laws in the Torah are against human logic, which leads us to believe that a person will never invent such laws. Because when a crook comes to give a religion claiming he's a prophet, he is looking for personal benefits. Money, fame, glory, everyone bow down to me. They put my name all over the newspapers. I am the leader. I am the head of the entire constitution. I am making the rules. Everyone has to ask me. I'm the top authority. So I invented this fake religion with personal gain. I have plans to gain something. But if you review the Torah, not only Moses did not gain anything, only headache he got. Everyone got real estate in Israel. His own family never got a piece of the land. Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi. Nothing. He writes on himself that in a book that is stuttering. Did you ever see one comment against Muhammad in one of the Islam books? That he wasn't a perfect human being? You'll never find it. Did you ever see criticism against JC? That something with him wasn't kosher? You'll never find. Did you ever see any criticism against a hero in any cult or religion? You will never find. Did you ever see gossip against one of the heroes of all the santas, all the saints? Did you ever see somebody writes a book and criticize them and say that they fake or something like that? Never. The Torah is full of lashon hara, full of gossip. King David, the Torah writes negative about him. King Solomon, Vaya Sarah be'enei Hashem. His women turn his heart away from God. Abraham, problems. Isaac, problems. Jacob, problems. Moses, problems. Don't enter the land. God punished him. Why? Because it's objective book. In a divine book, there's no places for covering and pushing under the rug. Everything has to be objective as it was, for good or for bad. If everything was perfect, something is fishy here. Cannot be a person live 100 years here and never made mistakes. Cannot be. Let me give few examples. What does it mean, divine book? Every Jew has limitation and what is allowed to eat, what is not allowed to eat. Obviously, we're not talking about human logic here. Everything that you take from the ocean, 72% of the world is water. 12-kilometer depth. That's what they found. Every person that found a fish that never saw before in a lake, in a river, anywhere, if it has scales and fins, it's kosher. The oral Torah that was given together with the written Torah, the oral Torah is to complete the written Torah with all the instructions. So the oral Torah says a very interesting statement. What is it? Everything that have scales must have fins. You'll never find something that have scales and did not have fins. Which means if somebody gives you half a fish, only the head, you don't see the fins were cut off the body. Someone gives you half a fish, you need 2 signs in a fish to know it's kosher. You only found scales, but you don't see the fins. But the Torah says must have 2 signs. You don't have to worry. You can eat it. It's no problem. Why? If it has scales, for sure it has fins. How do we know? God promised in the Torah, you will never find one creature in the entire world. 72% of the world is water. And plus, all the time, the species are multiplying and merging one with the other. And the species who were not here 3,000 years ago, that were just created 100 or 50 years ago, and even they are included in this promise in the Torah. You'll never find one that has scales and doesn't have fins, and nobody ever found it. Give another example. The number of the stars in the world, up to Galileo Galilei, the year 1608, it's only 403 years ago, that's it. Everyone in the world was sure 100% is between 6,000 to 8,000 stars in the world. That's it. Why? People were standing on mountains and counting manually. And the maximum amount they came up is 8,000 stars. Couldn't see anymore. One day Galileo came with the 6-foot telescope and they saw there's much, much more than 6,000 or 8,000. And from then on, with the NASA telescope and the satellites and all the things that we have today, it's 10 to the power of 19. It's like quarter trillion, 1 and 18 digits after. How can it be that in a book that was written approximately 2,000 years ago in Judaism is the famous Talmud, which is a conclusion of the oral Torah, right? 1,300 years after it was given in Mount Sinai, the Talmud saying the exact number of the stars in a generation that nobody could dream that such a number is reality. There's no way to know. So writing such a thing in a book is taking a huge risk that the people would think you're crazy, because everyone only see 8,000. If you write 1 and 18 digits, as the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, in the chapter of blessings, page 32, is described that the nation of Israel, after the destruction of the second temple, they came to God and say, dear God, a person get remarried and never forget his ex-wife. 20 years later, you ask him, hey, remember you used to be married? I used to be married? I don't remember. Believe me, I remember very well. Even his mother-in-law, he never forgot. He remembers everyone from the previous marriage. So the nation of Israel is referring a question to God. A person never forgot his ex-wife, and you forgot your children, which means the temple destroyed for the second time, we're going to the exile, what's going to be now? So God answered, 12 sections I created in heaven, and in each section I created 30 armies, and in each army I created 30 legion, and in each legion I created 30 rahaton, and in each rahaton I created 30 karaton, and in each karaton I created 30 gisteras, and in each gistera I hung 365,000 multiplied by 10,000 stars, and all of that I created for you. Who is for you? The nation of Israel. And you have the nerve to say that I forgot you and neglected you? How do you dare to say such a thing? So the calculation, it gives us 12 times 30 times 30, 30, 30 times 365 times 10,000, which is 4 more zeros. Give us 10 to the power of 19. Go to the NASA and check stars, 10 to the power of 19. What person could dream such thing? The renewal of the moon. Did you know that the discovery of NASA and the German agency, the space agency of the Germans in Berlin, 1965, they came up with the exact number of the Torah with one little difference. What's the difference? 1/10,000 of a second. That's the difference between what the Torah says in a generation that we had no satellite, no telescope, no mega computers, no way to measure the movement of the moon compared to the entire galaxies and everything. And the Torah gave us 6 digits after the decimal point, which is the renewal of the moon will never be less than 29.530590. That's what the Torah says. Go check. They came to the exact number with the difference of 10,000 of a second. Do you know any other religion can give you such information, divine information? There is none. Let me give another example. Prophecies. I'll make a deal with you. Every chapter in the Torah you open, I'll find you prophecies over there. Every chapter, I'll find you in that chapter prophecies. Any other book, you don't have one prophecy. Not one prophecy in the Quran. Did you know that? And they all say, Prophet Muhammad. Fine. Show me one prophecy in the Quran. Not one prophecy in the New Testament. 200 years after the New Testament was written, the Christian church decided to give one prophecy. The Jews will never return to the Holy Land. After they saw the destruction of the Second Temple, they were sure God is finished with us. But the Jews returned to the Holy Land, millions. So what's the answer? There's no answer. One prophecy, and it was wrong. Did you ever find one prophecy in the Torah that was not correct, unless if the time did not arrive yet? Some of the prophecy are yet to come. So there are many, many proofs in the Torah, and believe me, I can give you hundreds of them, one by one, that leaves no doubt that our Torah is 100% divine. So where is the problem? How do we have people from our community that one day decided to take the yarmulke off and go somewhere and become 100% secular? The answer is, we have a very serious problem in the system, in our education system. Things that used to be 100% fine 200-300 years ago are not fine anymore. Today, with the technology in the world, by clicking few buttons you can reach tons of information out there, which 20-30 years ago it was not possible, many people are curious. And since they're little children, they taught them in yeshiva that everything they have to take it for granted, it's 100%, no questions are allowed to be asked. This is the way we got it from our fathers, this is the way you have to get it. So many of these children, their nature is they're very curious, and they reach a certain age that they become independent, they go out to the world, they go to business, they find computer, and they read all kinds of things, and they're starting to have questions in their faith. Maybe everything I was taught is nonsense. Maybe they fed me all these things, but now I see that there's a lot of questions that I don't have the answers. That's the danger. If you don't prepare the soldier before they go to the war, what they expect to find there, they lose the war. And that's the problem. I was, like I say, I gave an example. I was on Thursday in Williamsburg. There's some Hasidim kids, 19, 20, that, they still look 100% frum, but they are 100% not frum already. But after that lecture, which was only 2 hours and few minutes, they all came back. Said, finally I got the answer I was looking for 20 years. In one lecture, imagine if it will be 5, 6, 10 lectures. The more they listen, you have some CDs here, you can listen, you understand what I'm talking about. Many of the Gentiles, I'm telling you, this is a fact, and you can challenge me, I can show you the emails I get every day. There's not one day without getting at least 10 emails from Gentiles who listen to some of these lectures and wants already to come to convert. You understand? Why is it? Because the proofs are very strong. And there's no one can argue and challenge it. However, I never came here to claim that our society and our schools is perfect. We are far from being perfect. We teach the Torah, yes, the Torah is divine, yes, but there's other problems. No person is a perfect person. Just because a person has a beard or yarmulke or is trying to be righteous doesn't mean he succeeded. So some of us make mistakes. Raising the children, we can make mistakes. There's all kinds of things in a community that later you find it on the news that makes what we call Chilul Hashem, that people think that that's the face of religion, and it's a very big mistake. Trying to cover it and pretend that it doesn't exist only will make the situation later worse. You understand? No, we have nothing to hide behind, and we have nothing to be ashamed of. We are the children of God, as the Torah says. You are my children. I chose you from all the nation to be mine. I separated you from all the nation. I want to teach the world how to behave through you. You are my representative. Imagine a person receive a tag that he is a personal advisor or personal representative of Bill Gates. Of Bill Gates. Would he be ashamed walking with this tag? Or he will be very proud to go everywhere with this tag? I'm the representative of one of the most successful business people in the world. I have nothing to be ashamed of. And even if tomorrow is going to make a mistake, right, doesn't mean there's a problem with Bill Gates and his Microsoft. The representative made a mistake. Mistakes have to be addressed and taken care of, not to hide it and cover it under the rug. I heard there was recently a book that was published by one woman. I never read the book, but from what I heard from some of the people who talked to me about it, that she had a lot to say against Hasidus and in Judaism in general. I'm willing, in front of the camera, I'm telling you, to bring her to me in front of the whole world. And you will see the embarrassment that she will have for the rest of their life. Because everything she said, without even reading it, I heard 16, 17 years everywhere I go, all kinds of criticism, and not once one of them was legit. You want to criticize people, individual people? Maybe yes, maybe you're entitled to. Maybe somebody did something bad to you. Maybe you had some kind of an abuse. Maybe you develop hatred and revenge against the entire community because you had one or two bad experiences. I don't know. We all go through crises in life. It doesn't mean that from now on we have to go against the entire community. One thing I do say, to try to criticize Judaism, I will prove to you 100% there's no place for it. What are you going to criticize? That the Torah says you should not kill, you should not steal, you should be honest, you should be humble, you should not be a proud, arrogant person, you should respect every human being, Jew or non-Jew. You're not allowed to deceive any human being. You have to respect every human being, a being that was created in the image of God. What can you criticize? Remember, I'm not talking about the behaving of the people. I'm talking what the Torah has to say. The Torah says you should love your neighbor like you love your friend. You should be a great father. The women in Judaism are all princes. One by one. Each one of them is a princess. Not like some people out there think that the women are deprived. Not true. I had a lecture 2 months ago. It's on my website. The role, the status of a Jewish woman according to Judaism. Hundreds of women wrote, "Thank you for doing this lecture," for the whole world to see that their information is not what the Torah says. The most important responsibility in the life of a Jewish family is raising the children. In the Torah, God say, "I love Abraham, and I'm giving him my Torah to Abraham." That's before the Jews receive it in Mount Sinai, remember. That's before the slavery in Egypt. It's at least 200 years before. I'm already giving Abraham the Torah. He's keeping all my laws as an individual. Why? Because not only because he has faith in me, because I know he will transfer it to his descendants, to his children. He's a responsible person. I can rely on him. That's why I love him. That's why he's a legendary person, according to all religions, even Christianity and Islam. A Jewish woman, God put the souls, the children in her hand. Most of the day she's with them, she's raising them, she's teaching them how to pray, how to believe, how to be honest, how to behave, how to be humble. how to follow everything. Most of the time, almost every father is busy, whether he's in yeshiva learning, whether he's in business. Kids don't see their father so much. If a woman wasn't important, would God put the future of his nation, the chosen nation, in the hands of the women? How would he do such a thing? Plus, only the Torah says that women has higher level than a man. The Torah says. We learn it in yeshiva. It's in the Talmud. Cannot hide it. What does it say? A woman's wisdom naturally is higher than a man. Also, it says that a husband must respect and love his wife like himself and more than himself. Buy her gifts, treat her, help her, do everything according to his financial abilities. If he's a wealthy man, he has to bring her help and do all kinds of things. Buy her the best clothes, jewelry every holiday. No man allowed to hit his wife. No man allowed to disrespect her. Women are free to go to get jobs anywhere they want. We have in our community women who works, they control companies, presidents. No one would say to a woman, you're not a kosher woman or you're not righteous because you are a doctor or because you went to college or anything like that. And if there are people who try to say it, they are against the law. That's not the law of the Torah. Women always worked in the time of the Talmud. They worked in the market, they worked in a business, they worked many times. But the husband has a responsibility to take care of the financial needs on his family, not to throw it on his wife. But if the wife agree to work, that you should learn and we both gonna have a much better, holier house, then it's no problem. If it's a mutual consent, everyone agreed, no problem. But to force, it's against what you signed on the day you got married. You must support her, give her attention, give her what to wear, what to eat, and money to use. 100%. Raising children. It's not a cheap thing. It's very expensive. Send them to private school. Being religious, you pay 1,000 times more than any other secular person or non-Jew to send your kids to get education. Public school is for free. You pay a few dollars here and there, but it's basically for free. You have 6, 7, 10 children. Each one of them costs you hundreds or sometimes more than $1,000 a month. It adds up to an annual salary of a top professional, just raising the children. This is the future of the nation. If the people would not receive the Torah education, we have no future. What keeps us around in the world after 2,000 years, that every empire who were here wanted to destroy the Jewish nation, they're all gone from the world. The Jews are still here with the same legacy, the same Torah. Where are the Romans? Where are the Babylonians? Where are the Philistines? Where are the Persians, the ancient Persians that control 127 countries? Where are the Nazis today? Every empire who came after the Jews disappeared from the world. And the Jews who everyone wanted to destroy them and their religion are still around. The Torah is the same Torah, it never changed. Let me give you an example. How many different versions you have for the New Testament? Do you know? If you take one New Testament, put one next to the other, how many different texts? When I made the debate with the priests more than 3 years ago, the figure was standing on 150,000 different versions. Today, more than 200,000 different versions. They keep updating and changing words, dates, certain things. 200,000 different books. Even if one of them was the Word of God, even if it was, it's gone from the world. It's gone. You'll never find the original Holy One. In the Torah, if you erase one word from the Torah, it's not holy anymore. You can put it in a suitcase and send it in a plane. Throw it. They throw the Torah. One letter is missing. You didn't finish it. Divine has to be 100%. The Torah is the same Torah. We have the tradition who never changed. 100%. Everywhere you go to Poland, the same Torah. You go to Russia, you go to Syria, you go to everywhere you go. Quran, hundreds of different Qurans. Which one was the original one? They'll never know. Torah 1. The 613 commandments are the same one. Why we have 613? 248 organs, 365 ligaments. The Mishnah in Bechorot, it breaks it to how many organs and how many ligaments. Some people trying to argue that because there's different ways to calculate. Some organs can be broken to 2, depend. But according to the Torah, 248 organs, 248 positive commandments, 365 restriction, 365 ligaments in the body. When a soul comes out of the body in a time of death, before the person go in front of God to his trial, by looking at the image of the soul, you can see which commandments he kept and which one he didn't. Before you even start analyzing his life, everything is already viewed in the image of the soul, which looks exactly like the person. Today I have a lecture, Life After Life, 3 hours, scientific proof that there are life, not only there's life after death, there's also reincarnations. All of us, almost with no exception, are not new souls here. We were here, Jews and non-Jews, coming here in different bodies in reincarnations. How can you prove such things scientifically? Very simple. You hypnotize a person, and it's called regression. You bring him back 50 years before he was born, and he talks in a different language. Later you show him the video, he see himself speaking French. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm saying. Who am I? I used to be in Paris. Now they teach you who you used to be by showing you the video. It's amazing. And this is exactly what the Torah says. It's all reincarnation. Who's Moshe Rabbeinu? Used to be Hevel. Cain murder Hevel.
He's asking if he's allowed to do.
Hypnotizing, yes.
No, go bring
You
it back.
see how
old
things are
souls.
changing in generations? In 1 second it changed. I told him I want to do it. He says I'm asking if I'm allowed to do it.
I heard you're not allowed to bring back old souls. You're not allowed to touch that. That's what I heard.
We'll get to that.
Is it true?
If you fool me, fine. You're fooling Lipa. His father sitting in your face like this. All right. First of all, it's allowed to. We're not allowed to call the death. 3 of the 613 mitzvot, commandments, is you should not communicate with the deceased people, which means it's possible. If the Torah said do not disturb the dead people, in 3 commandments, that means it's possible. If we know, if we don't know, it doesn't matter. It's possible. This we're not allowed.
I don't want to interrupt, but since we interrupted already, I just want to say I had a brother who was 12 years off the derech, and he worked in a Monsey fire department, and he said that every week they used to play a game like this. It's a cheap card they can buy, and they bring souls.
Yes,
and the
Ouija
souls
board.
moving,
Yeah, 100% with the glass.
Some of them said I'm still in the hospital. Some of them said I'm waiting to die. I'm in an ambulance.
100%.
Couldn't believe it.
100%. So that's already, that's a non-professional way to prove. I'm talking to you now things that are much more professional. That the biggest parapsychologists in the world already admitting there's no other way. It has to be life after life and reincarnations. I give another example. Blind people that cannot see colors and they are born blind. If you ask them now, can you describe to me the color blue? Can he describe blue? He never saw blue in his life. Tell him, listen, it's a little bit like green. What's green? It's like the sky. What's the sky? Whatever you're going to say, he doesn't have it in his computer. He doesn't know what to imagine. We can imagine blue because we saw blue. It's in our memory. He doesn't know. But when he died for 10 minutes and came back to life, now he's describing the entire hospital in colors. So there's 2 problems here. One problem is that we see that the limitation of the blind people, it's not a spiritual limitation, it's a physical limitation. The blinds of the window are down. You cannot see outside. But if you go out of the room, then you can see to all 4 directions. There's no limitation. The soul always sees. It's just that the blinds block the view. That's one thing. Second is, how does all of a sudden he know colors? If in this life he never saw colors? The answer, from previous life. He got it all back when he saw it. That's all you need. 1 image and it's over. Plus, they interview these deceased people. And sometimes they give messages. I'll give you an example. A husband and wife decided that one day when they die, if they'll have a way to communicate with each other, so they will find a word. What's the word? Parpar kachol. A blue butterfly. Blue butterfly. That's the sign. Because maybe they won't have enough permission to give a whole story. So they want, Baruch Hashem, this place has to be expanded. Maybe a break. All right. Yeah, no problem. So,
Okay. For the people who don't know, I wasn't here before. I just want to say this is Rabbi Mizrachi. Mizrachi. Oh, I say Mizrachi. Okay.
It's okay.
No, in Yiddish they say Mizrachi.
yeah.
This is Rabbi Mizrachi, and he brings together scientific points that works with the Torah. We sometimes think that Torah with science contradicts. He brings science. He brings proof that it all works together, and he brings a lot of proof about the Torah and divine.
Thank you. So the husband and wife decided when they die, if they have permission to communicate each other, so they make a code. What's the code? Blue butterfly. Parpar kachol. One time, a bunch of Israelis in the army, they were bored, so they decided to call souls. It's called seance. In America, they call it Ouija board. In Israel, they call it seance. So they light candles. They take a piece of paper and they write all the 22 alphabet letters. And they have a cup. They put the cup and they begin to call people. So one person called his grandfather. They didn't know that the Torah says a Jew is not allowed to do it, to disturb the souls. So they're doing it. So as they calling all these people, their relatives, one person came to the seance, a soul, and started to move the glass. And he said, "Who are you?" And he said his name. He said, "I want you to call this telephone number." Gives them a telephone number. Call and say to the woman over there 2 words for me. It's a big favor for me. Blue butterfly. They say, "Okay, what do we have to lose?" They call up that person. The woman heard that word and started to scream on the phone and fainted right away. She fainted. Later they keep calling. Then they say to her, "Well, what happened?" She said, "This is a word that I agree with my husband before he died, that if there is life after death, he will call or I will call, depend who will die first, and give this password. This is the password. And he gave me this password and I'm in shock. That means he's not dead." Do we need this story to believe in life after death? The answer is no. We have the Torah. The Torah answers every question you can think of. The Torah said that Prophet Samuel was called by King Saul. There was a war tomorrow with Amalek. The king, Shaul HaMelech, Saul the king, was afraid. What's going to be tomorrow? We're going to lose. Whatever's going to happen. So he went to a woman. He pretended he's an ordinary person. She didn't know he's the king, because it was against the law to do it. And he asked her, call Prophet Samuel, which was already in his world. He passed away already. Shmuel, Hanavi. And then Shmuel came, the prophet Samuel came, and he told him, "Why did you disturb me to come back to this world?" And he said, "I'm very sorry, but I'm so worried about the war. What's going to be tomorrow?" So what did he say to him? "Tomorrow you and your children are here with me," which means good and bad news. The bad news, you're all going to die, you and your children. That's what he told him. The good news is we wish to be with Prophet Samuel in the same level in Gan Eden, in heaven. It's a very great achievement. And that's what happened the next day. They all died. So this is a proof from the Torah that you call a soul and speak to them. But the Torah says you're not allowed to do it. I want to open now a discussion with all of you together. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of people here. Feel free. You ask me any question you want in any subject, dilemma, arguments, things that you're not sure about. Now it's the time to ask. Like I said in the beginning, I prefer to answer questions or doubts or things that disturb you than to just give you a lecture to go on and on. Yes? Yeah? You have a question? No? Who has? No?
I just want to say first, because I know people are going to be embarrassed. I'm going to break it. I just want to say, I don't think it's a question. I think you'll agree with me. If not, you can tell me in my face. I think that one point about what you said, before that a lot of people, they get upset about Judaism is because they see, like someone once said, don't mix up Jews with Judaism. They're upset about behaviors of certain Jews, even rabbis, and then they say the whole Judaism is not good.
100%.
I think, if I may say, it's a little bit scary because I think it doesn't only happen today. I think it goes back hundreds of years. There were misinterpretations.
Right.
Some of misinterpretation is even in writings. But what you talk about is about the core of the Torah.
Yes.
But I mean to say, it could be there was a lot of misinterpretations there in the year.
All right. Depend what we're talking about. In the Torah, God already told us that there will be disagreements between the rabbis and how to interpret the Torah. How do we know that He told us that? Because the Torah says, "V'aya ki yeh machloket." Hashem say in the Torah, and if it's going to be an argument between the rabbis, "Acharei rabim la'atot," follow the majority opinion, not majority in quantity, majority in quality. That's a very common mistake that people think that if you have 10 against 3, we always go with the 10. No. Majority in quality, which means if you have a doctor, a local doctor, he knows a lot. He learned, he went to medical school, he's 20 years a doctor, he has his own practice, whatever. And you go to the doctor and the doctor said, you need an operation. God forbid, in a brain. Needs an operation. And then you go to another family doctor, he says the same. You go to another one, he says the same. Basically, you went to 20 local doctors. They all say the same. And then you go to some Japanese world expert in brain. Top authority that everybody knows his hands is like computer when he makes operations on a brain. And he's an expert in a brain. And he say to you, you don't need an operation. This is what you need. You take this medication for 3 months and everything will be fine. Who are we going with? The 20 or the 1? We're going with the 1, right? Why are we going with the 1, not the 20? Because each one of the 20 has 80% knowledge about the brain, or 70 or 60, depend. We're going with the 1 who has 90. 90% gives you a clear picture what to do, what not to do, than 5,000 who have only 70%. The 1 has a clear picture. They only spoke according to their ability. Same thing today. If 1,000 local rabbis will tell you something, and you go Rav Eliashiv or Rav Ovadia or Rav Kanievsky tells you the other way, who do you listen to? The 1,000 local rabbis? The answer is no. You go with the top authority. There's about 10 like this in the world approximately, and whatever each one of them say, it's a top authority. If you put the 10 together, they may have disagreements. The Torah already prepared us for the problem. The Torah says, yes, there will be different opinions. People are people. We're not robots. Every argument in the Talmud has different opinions. Today, it's needless to say. So what do? The answer is, you get a rabbi and you ask one authority what to do. If you start going to hundreds of doctors every time you have a flu, it's never going to end. So the Torah says, "Aseh lecha rav," make yourself a rabbi that you can rely on, and 100%. What happens if the rabbi told you something wrong? Doctors can also make mistakes. Rabbi is a spiritual doctor. If he told you something to do wrong, you are 100% clean. Not only that, let me give you another example from the Torah. The Torah says that when there is an argument, and they decided after the argument how is the law, like who? Like this individual. The people who contradicted him, it obligates them to keep this law. I'll give you an example. Where does it say it? There's an old Chacham that left Sanhedrin. He was one of the top 71 Chachamim in the world. To be in Sanhedrin, not only you have to be a Torah great scholar, you have to have secular studies. You have to know languages. You have to speak to people in their languages. So if a Greek Jew comes and he speaks to you in his language, all the people in Sanhedrin that speaks to him, they have to understand what he says. Mordechai, same thing. Everyone was in a Sanhedrin, they had to know languages. Rabbi Akiva, all of them. So now you have to know languages, you have to know a lot of things. You don't have to know only Torah, you have to know everything. So now, if one of them retired, Zaken Mamre it's called, and the Sanhedrin say you're allowed to do something, and he come and say, my opinion based on the Torah that you're not allowed to do, and he contradict them, what's his punishment? Execution. Why? He's a very big Chacham. He's one of the top rabbis in the world. He had to know where to keep his opinion for himself when the majority of the Sanhedrin made a decision. No one is allowed to make a beep. Why? Not to create an anarchy. So now, throughout the generations, Jews were spread all over the world. Poland, Russia, Syria. There's no communication. If today they write Shulchan Aruch, you wouldn't have so many different customs and opinions. They will communicate with the phone. Call, phone, fax, internet, Skype on the screen. Everyone would see everyone, and everyone would convince everyone what's the right halacha, like in the time of the Talmud. In the time of the Talmud, they reached a verdict. Halacha ke Rabbi Akiva, finished. Halacha like this, finished. Not that. Now is another common mistake. If we went with the majority, does that mean that they are right? Not necessarily. Maybe the minority right in this topic. But it doesn't matter. Because all we have to do, we are not angels. All we have to do is what the instructions that God gave us in the Torah. He told us majority and minority, you follow the majority. He never promised us the majority will always be right. Maybe when the Messiah will come, we will find out that some of the laws that we're keeping, really the other minority opinion was more correct. Does that mean we are sinners? The answer is no. So what are you worried about? We are covered from everywhere. We cover when there is arguments. We cover if you have one rabbi that you go everything like him. You cover with all directions. So what are you worried so much? I tell you something. 17 years I speak. I never found real legitimate questions yet. It's all excuses. It's either ignorance or excuses. Excuses everyone wants to find to relax their conscience. When Moshe wrote the Torah, he came to a pasuk, to a verse, Na'aseh Adam betzalmenu kedmutenu. Let's create, in plural, a person in our image. Moshe said to God, dear God, people will make a critical mistake. They think there's more than one God. What did God say? Write it anyway. Someone who would want to make mistake will make a mistake. What kind of answer is this? You should have told him, you're right, it's a tricky point. He may mislead the people to think there's more than one God. Let's change it. E'eseh Adam ketzalmi instead of ketzalmenu kedmutenu. The truth is, he speaks with the angel together. He wants to teach us how to be humble. But he should either tell him, okay, you're right, I'm going to change it, or he should give him a better explanation. I know, he could have told him, but I wrote in other places in the Torah that there's only one God. There's no other. I wrote in 7 or 10 other places in the Torah, I'm the only God, I'm the only one, there's no one before me, there's no one after me. I wrote it many times. So over here I speak in a plural language because I speak with the angels together when we create mankind. But he didn't answer them, the Moshe, this answer. He told him, someone who would like to make mistake will make a mistake. Which means that people first decide where they want to be, and now they will find a way how to get there. Which means, I want to be a goy. I want to be a rock and roll guitar player. I want to stand, smoke drugs on a stage with all the women, not modest, screaming. That's where I want to be. How do I get there from the way I am now with beard, yarmulke, and learning Gemara? How do I get there? He begins to make himself a pat. That rabbi is saying nonsense. That is too extreme. This one, I prove to you it's wrong. Now, what they told me in yeshiva here, I found the scientists say the opposite. Slowly, slowly, he progressed until he became the biggest drug dealer. But really, bring me all these people one by one, I promise you. Everything they claim, in 5 minutes it's over. Whatever they claim. The scientists, bring the scientists, I prove to you it's wrong. Whatever they claim, just because you're not happy in something the Hasidim do. What does it have to do now with the Torah? Okay, so you're not happy with what the Hasidim eat. You're not happy with some of the things they say. But what about the Torah? What about Shulchan Aruch? That's hundreds of years before Hasidut.
How about the Bechira has to be 50-50? It's much harder to keep than not to keep.
It's much harder to keep. That's why most people go to not keeping. Of course, it's always a dilemma to keep or not to keep.
So Bechira needs to be fair.
No, it is fair.
We put those.
So I want to answer on this, I think.
Yeah. First of all, let me explain to you something.
No, because it's part of also a question I was going to say, because I think that the Bechira 50% was according to the Torah. But during the years, there was so much things add on,
Right.
that some people
Thank you.
get confused, and we don't know what's really only the Torah, or we have so much baggage already for many years, and that's why the Bechira becomes...
I'm glad that both of you mention it. They asked Rav Eliashiv this question. I will even give you the source for it to be more precise. They asked Rav Eliashiv a question. What was the question? What should we teach Baalei Tshuva? A secular Jew who wants to start keeping mitzvot or comes to ask questions. What should we teach him? So the answer is, he said like this. It says, I want you to publish in my name. I want you, who asked him this question? Rabbi Yehuda Greenwald. And it's published in a book, Ladat Ba'aretz Darkecha, page 333. That's the source. He testified that he asked Rav Eliashiv, the biggest rabbi in the world, how to educate Baalei Tshuva. Thank you. And he told him, write in my name that you only have to teach them Ikar Adin, only the law and nothing extra, no chumrot at all. Not only that, there's a very common problem today. Because of all the chumrot, as you mentioned, both of you, that were added, people leave the religion because they are tired of too many nonsense that were added later on. So from now on, we should not be embarrassed to tell whoever, first of all, you have to choose the rabbi that is not some extreme that everything is not allowed, not allowed, not allowed. If that's the one that you have, you might as well consider changing your rabbi. Why?
Nobody here has that rabbi.
Nobody? Okay, Baruch Hashem. All right, so first of all, listen. All the extra that came later on in generations, we know what the extras are. It's not what we don't know. But many ignorant people who never learn, they do not know to tell what's halakha, what's not. Let me give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'm glad you mentioned it. And I have a good answer for it. But listen good. First, it says like this. The Shla Kadosh, 500 years ago, Rabbi Horowitz, in the generation of the Ari Kadosh, this is what he says. Yesh ladat, we have to know, כי החומרות היתרות, the extra chumres, לא טבעיות הם לנו. It's not our nature. It's not natural to us. And לא שאיפות כל מעשינו. We should not aim to be mahmir in all these chumrot. This is a legendary divine person in a generation of the Ari. We're not talking someone from 10 years ago. It's 500 years ago. And לא חזוננו. And lo yehudenu. It's not our vision, it's not our dream to be machmir. People think that by me being machmir, I'm extra righteous. Wrong. Most of the time you're more wicked by being machmir. Why? Because everyone else is nothing to you. One came to a rabbi in his yeshiva, he accepts Shabbos an hour before everyone. So one time the rabbi called him, and he said to him, let me ask you, this is the Sabbath Slovodka Rebbe. He told him, tell me, between you and I, When you see that every Shabbos, you accept Shabbos an hour before everyone and all your friends are still doing things, does it make you think that they are Reshaim, like real wicked people, that it's, Rabbi, the truth? Yes. Says stop right away accepting Shabbos an hour early. Stop it right away. Accept like everybody else. Because you lose more than you gain. Thinking you are Machmir and everyone is not in your level, they're nothing, it's losing a lot more than gaining. Because Machmir, Hashem didn't ask you to do it. Not only that, Chazal says in the Gemara, it's not enough what the Torah restricted us, that we have to add more restrictions to it. I give you another example. Today people dress in a certain way. Hat, clothes, tie, suffering in humidity. Why? They embarrass what the people's going to say. So one person came to Rav Moshe Feinstein, the biggest rabbi in America. Everybody understands what Rav Moshe Feinstein was. Big Talmid Chacham. And he asked him about modesty for men. He says, the heat makes me aggravated on Shabbos. I don't enjoy with all this kind of clothing. He said to him, you're not chayav, it's midat chasidut. You have to trust Hashem that He knows your suffering, and even midat chasidut you don't have in it. Why? Because there's no mitzvah to suffer on Shabbat. And Rav Zilberstein, Alenu Leshabeach books, heard from Rav Chaim Kanievsky, one person came to the Chazon Ish and told him, it's very hard for me to put a tie on Shabbos in Israel, in Bnei Brak, because of the humidity. So the Chazon Ish told him, if there is no pleasure, there is no kavod le-Shabbat.
And I just want to say we have a lot of people in the community that they want to put on a tie, but they have peer pressure and they can't put on a tie. But I want to ask one question. I want to first say to everybody, if somebody has a question and is embarrassed to say, text it to me. I will not say who it is. 845-499-9799.
1 second before the question, just one more thing. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of what does it mean, ignorance. Some people say, I don't put a yarmulke, I don't put tzitzit because I walk without a kippah. What's the connection? Tzitzit is from the Torah every second. Kippah is the Rabbanan. Because you don't keep mitzvah the Rabbanan, now you're going to lose an opportunity to do a mitzvah from the Torah every second? Huh? No, you don't have to. Exactly. You don't have to. But you know, the profit is huge. It doesn't pay to lose. You're right. You don't have to. But the profit is so big. If now they give you an opportunity to go to find a job, $1,000 an hour. All you have to do is sit and do nothing in the office. You don't have to work. But who's going to miss an opportunity like this? Tzitzit, every second mitzvah, it's a very big mitzvah, and there's many things were said about it. To lose such an opportunity, it's not so clever. But you're right, it's not an obligation. Okay, now, someone say to the rabbi, Rabbi, I did not burn my chametz this year. Why? Because I forgot to keep my lulav from the last sukkahs. It's not a joke, it really happened. Yeah. He thought, there's a sgula to take the lulav and burn it with the chametz. Since he forgot to keep his lulav, he kept all the chametz in the house. You understand what Judaism turned into? All these extra sgulot that not always you even know their sources, you don't know where they come from, became the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments became sgula. Yeah. You understand? That's what's happening. Yes?
I have a question. Who wrote the Torah? Moshe, Rabbeinu, or Hashem?
Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem told him what to write.
I also had a question which is the same almost. I want to bring it up now.
Yeah.
Can I explain it?
He answered me already.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it proves very much that Muslims and Christians are the, and I'm going to say something that I believe a few people here think and they're embarrassed to ask.
Yeah.
Christians and Muslims are after us, and that is Judaism or the faith belief. Okay, how do you prove the belief? Who said millions of people were by Mountain Torah? Yes, you know what? From the Hashem until today, 300 years, people know stories and stories. There were no CD players, no nothing. maybe it was a group of people, they made a story, and years later...
First hour over here,
Yeah.
1 hour and 10 minutes.
Thank
It's the
you.
answer to your question. Watch it.
It was in 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes preview, but watch it. This movie, everyone who watch it, even non-Jews, never have doubts anymore. What's the only
You're
truth?
going to pay for this.
Yeah.
I just asked one question, it cost you 20 CDs.
What do you think I brought the CDs for?
The writing is 2 different writers, or many different writers.
4 different.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a contradiction. God can write in 1,000 different styles. What? God is not human.
No, but it's also machloikas apaskas. It says also machloikas could be that if it became an otiyot and it became Torah, there's a machloikas apaskas that the faith of the word was written after.
Let me answer this question.
But you know there's a machloikas.
First, just because there's some experts, guys, just because some experts, too many people, it's also a problem. It's too much talking. Yeah. So just because there are some experts in the Mikra, in the Torah, that claim that there's more than one style in the writing, that's not proof of anything. God can write in 1,000 different styles. God also called himself in different names, judgment, mercy, all kinds of things. How do we know the Jews received the Torah in Mount Sinai? I answer in my Torah and Science film, but let me give you a few points. First point is that if I come to gather a group of people and I want to give them a fake book, let's now pretend that Moshe Rabbeinu brought a fake book and wanted to be a leader and control the entire nation of Israel by telling them stories. Why? What would be the incentive of a person who wants to be a leader when he comes to a group of people? Rule number 1, money. How much I'm going to get from them? 10%, 20%, maaser. Okay. Second, leadership. People give a lot to be the prime minister or the president. They give millions of dollars. They give up careers just for being on the top of the pyramid. That's reason number 2. Reason number 3, I want to be memorized in history, right? As a leader of a nation. Reason number 4, I like to control. I have this habit. I want people to do what I think because I think I'm the smartest. Rule number 5, what is it? Rule number 5. Rule number 5, it can be I'm a psychopathic human being. So I think I cover everything. There's any other incentive to try to pretend that God gave you a book? What other reason? That's basically it. No, I cover everything.
But this is based on the fact that you believe that Moshe gave the Torah. What if somebody wrote the book, the same way somebody wrote the Zohar?
I'll get to it. We're starting now with Moshe, and I'll tell you how I know Moshe gave the Torah. Tell you how. Now I come to all of you. You're the nation of Israel, and I'm Moshe, for the argument's sake. So I come and I bring you a book. And I claim that God gave me the book. What would be the first thing you check if the book has human errors or not? If the book has human errors, then you know God never gave me the book. God doesn't make human errors. So far it's common sense. If you see, for instance, that the Twin Towers collapsed in Brooklyn, that's what it says in my book. Would you spend another minute on me? If your first page in my book, one time there was a plane, it got into the building collapsed, and it was in King's Highway in Brooklyn. That's what it says in my book. Would you spend another minute on me, or you know I'm a crook? No, what's going on here? No, crook, right? 100%. So it's over. There's no point of checking the rest of the book. Open the New Testament, Act 7. It's Christianity. It says that the cave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is in the city of Shechem, Nablus. And every fool knows it's in Hebron. How can such mistake fall in a book of God? When I showed it to the priest, he almost dropped dead. You should see his face. So you put me in a hole, I don't know how I'm going to get out of there. I said to him, I proved to you Christianity is false. It's not from God. It's full of human errors. Showed you more than 50 mistakes. How many you want? Now 1 or 2, 50.
What else?
Okay, you watch the debate, you see it. Watch the debate. Okay, shh. Okay. Now, Quran. Shh, wait. Quran. Quran. According to Quran, the mother of JC is Miriam. How do they know? They learn it from the New Testament. Miriam and Joseph the carpenter gave birth to JC. Right? Who was the sister of Moshe in the Torah? Miriam. Two different Miriam. The Miriam, the sister of Moshe and Aaron, lived 3,400 years ago. And the Miriam, the mother of JC, lived 2,000 years ago. All of a sudden in the Quran, it becomes the same woman. The Quran, Moses is the uncle of JC. That's what it is. Miriam bat Amram. She's the mother of JC, according to the Quran.
How can they make such a mistake?
How the Christian made such mistake writing the
It's
Mizrachi?
written by the disciples.
Let me explain to you how. Reviewing the New Testament and the Quran leaves no doubt whatsoever that the faker who wrote that book had knowledge of first grade or pre-1A in our community. Take your son in first grade, he knows better than the writer of the Quran, and I'm not exaggerating. Yes, and the writer of the New Testament, he has such ridiculous mistakes that you wonder how they fell into that nonsense. So that's why when many of these Christians see my debate with this priest, some of them were about to be priests, some of them were priests already. I had one priest from Miami, he left the church. One person was in charge of the choir, he left the church. One woman, 14 years, a nun in a church, left the church. Many Arabs from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Qatar, Bahrain, in civilized country, right away drop the Quran after they watch the first part that I show you right here. Now let's talk about the Torah. Wait, I'm still answering his question. Wait. So the first thing is you check if the book has mistakes or not. Now when you open the book, and I wrote in the book that 100 miracles happened to you by God in the last year. Remember, you are the nation of Israel. I am the receiver of the book who is about to give you the book. You read in the book 100 miracles. Each one of them is against all odds. Blood, frog, every firstborn is dead in Egypt. The ocean split, you went through, the Egyptians drowned. Bread is falling from heaven. If one of these miracles were not really 100% true, would you accept the book from me, or you'll kill me right away as a crook? Would you agree to accept a book, reading this nonsense in a book, if it didn't really happen to you? Nobody would ever waste a minute on me. You crazy? What blood? We were not even in Egypt. Okay, we were in Egypt, but we never saw blood. We never saw millions of frogs. We never saw the animals are dying. We never saw every firstborn falling and dying. We never saw the ocean split. And the best part is, you are telling us that you and God spoke and all of us heard you speaking to God. I'm here. I didn't hear God speaking. Did you hear God? Did you hear God? Did you hear God? You're all standing over here, right? I claim that all of you heard me and God speaking, and I'm giving it to you in a book. You read in a book that all of you heard me and God speaking, and He made me the leader.
But it wasn't written only after the destruction of the...
No, not the 5 books.
This Torah
5 books was written before.
Wait. Well, I didn't hear you. What was narrated?
It wasn't written down, the 5 books.
Up to Parashat Yitro in Ma'amad Har Sinai. From then on, 40 years, every few years, Hashem called Moshe Rabbeinu and added another part. The machloket is not contradicting his question. I know the machloket, but that's not a contradiction. Why? Tell you why. Because when I came now, and giving you all the Torah shebe'al peh, what does it say in the Torah? Vayeshev Moshe mimachorat hayom vayishpot et ha'am. So he had all the rules, everything. And now everything that they got in the 40 years that they were in the desert, when they get the book, whether they got it then, or got it a year later, or 5 years later, or 10 years later, doesn't matter. As long as Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, they got it. So when they got it, they say, hey, Moshe, you lied to us all along. You said that we heard you speaking to God. It was a lie. You never spoke to God. So they dump the book. You know what they do? They take the Torah, go around Moshe Rabbeinu and burn him together with his Torah. You know why? I tell you why. I would do it if somebody would trick me like this. I tell you why. Because thousands of them, or tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands. We don't know exactly. But a large portion of them had to get divorced right away. Why? Because up to now, it was perfectly fine to be married to your aunt. Now all of a sudden, Mr. Moshe ben Amram bring me a book, and according to this book, Ervat dodatcha lo tegale, dodatcha hi. You have to get divorced. And the best part is, who is the parents of Moshe? Father Amram. Yochevet is his aunt. It includes his parents. What's going on? He comes, he brings a book. Thousands of us has to get divorced. What did he gain by that? You wanted money? Just tell us that we give you 10% and finish. Don't make us all this law. You wanted fame? You got it. Why do you have to write 100 miracles? Why do you have to tell us to get divorced? Why do you want us to throw all the meat that we prepare for the holiday because you came up with a law that the knife wasn't smooth and we didn't do it according to your book? Just let us eat whatever. What benefits Moshe got by giving them the book, and now they have to throw thousands of cows to the garbage? And that's why we eat dairy in Shavuos, because there's not enough time to prepare new slaughtering with the salt. So we eat dairy in Shavuot. Everyone, Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Hasidim, everyone. Why? Because there's nothing to eat. That's it. Just go to make some dairy food. So now the question is, what did Moshe gain? Only hatred. Plus he writes that he's stuttering. Plus he writes that he got punished in his book. So he ruined his fame. He ruined his glory. Everyone hates him because they have to get divorced. Millions of dollars goes to the garbage. That doesn't look to me like a crook who wants to gain control and everyone love him. The opposite. He did everything he can for them to hate him. Why? Because it wasn't his word.
Or maybe whoever concocted this whole story wanted to prove how wrong the whole story is. That's why he wasn't.
No, you know what? What you say doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why. Because the people who receive the book, the receiver of the book, are the main actors in a movie. Remember, if it was only 2 generations later, then you can write whatever you want. But the problem is that according to the book, the ones who are receiving the book are the one who all the miracles happen to them, not their fathers. Remember, if it happened to my grandfather and your grandfather, and they inherit us with this book, then you may come and say, how do we know that it's not they didn't sit and plan together what nonsense to sell us? Then we at least have this possibility. But right now, according to the Torah, your eyes saw live, not your parents. You saw that I'm speaking to God and I'm giving you this book live. Not your parents. If it was your parents, you have a point. Even though it's not so realistic, but at least there is...
With the Zohar is the big argument when it was written.
The Zohar, yeah, but Zohar is a different story. Zohar is different. I tell you why the arguments is. The arguments is that there were some additions added to the Zohar later on. And that's what confused many of the people. And I tell you what, how can it be that the Zohar speak about Amoras who were born 200 years after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? How is it possible? If the Zohar was written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai 2,000 years ago, how does it speak about rabbis who lived 200 years later? The answer is because there's some additions to the Zohar. Not the entire Zohar is from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. But there's knowledge in the Zohar that you can see right away that it's all 100% divine. You can see in my film.
North Pole.
North Pole. I bring some proofs from the Zohar. And let me tell you something else. If the Zohar was from 700 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it doesn't change you and I a bit. Because we're focusing right now on the Torah.
No, 100%.
That's it. You want to go by Kabbalah? Fine. You don't want to go? Fine. But that's not going to change the truth of Judaism. Yes?
I got 2 questions from people on text.
Okay.
One guy here in the room says that you prove the Torah, but you don't prove there's a God. Meaning to say that could be that Moshe, everything is true about the Torah, but it doesn't prove a God. That's one question. Other question somebody's asking, it's a little bit like a deeper question. He said that all this Yetzias Mitzrayim and all the Nitzim we had, we know according to the Torah. But why? There's some beliefs that I have. They have so many years and years and years that I claim that I have written history, and if it was such a story in the whole world, why other people didn't write it only later on according to what we write?
First of all, it's not true. Both questions are not true. The first question is really, I don't know who asked this question. It doesn't make sense at all. If I prove that Torah is divine, of course I already proved that God exists. All right? So that question is not a legitimate question. But there are other ways to prove God exists even without the Torah. Let's say we're not aware of Torah. Many secular people understand there is God without believing the Torah or without even knowing about the Torah. Can be a person in Zimbabwe and still believe in a God. Why is it? If there is a creation, there is a creator. And the more sophisticated is the creation, it indicates about the brilliance of that creator. And when we look at a person's brain, 10 trillion connections, all in a little the size of an apple, 80% water, and the veins inside are 1,000 they're thinner than an hair by 1,000. Take one hair, it's 1,000 wires inside the brain. It's one hair. That's how sophisticated is this. To claim that something like this was made without a creator doesn't make any sense, because obviously something like this cannot be formed by itself. So someone made it. Now, did you ever see a creation without a purpose? Ever? Show me one thing in a life. Car has a purpose? Yeah. Microphone has a purpose? Yeah. This standard, it was designed based on a purpose. What came before? The creation or the plan? What comes first, the plan or the creation?
Plan.
First, there's a plan. What's my plan? I want people to hear me in the entire stadium, so let me do something, a system that will bring amplifier that will make my voice much louder, 100 times louder. So first I wanted everyone to hear me. That's how I developed the microphone. Now, when the creator of this world created the world, obviously he had a purpose. There was a plan. Now, analyzing the world, what's the most sophisticated machine in the world? It's the human being. All the animals under his control. He controls them, he runs them around. Everything is it's for me. Is it possible that he made me without a purpose? Cannot be. So we're going to the next step. In that case, what is my purpose? Is it possible that he put me here and never told human what's their purpose? And they don't know what they hear? Doesn't make sense. It's not all human logic. So it cannot be. And here comes the Jews and claim, of course it cannot be. We have the purpose. We have the book of instruction. Torah in Hebrew means instruction. So now all we have to do is to prove that the Torah is divine. If the Torah is divine, the rest we don't have to prove anymore. We just follow what the books say. We don't have to investigate forever. Once I know there is a creator, once I link the Torah to that creator, from that moment on, I don't have to continue to investigate. I just go by what the Torah say. The Torah say you should not kill. That's it, you should not kill. The Torah say you should not steal from the goy. That's it, you're not allowed to steal from a goy. Not everything has to be a debate. Once I prove that the Torah is the book of God, the argument is over. But even without Torah, to prove there's a creator to the world takes 5 minutes, human logic. Everything here is with a beautiful plan. Oxygen, water, everything you need, somebody planned it for us. Even without Torah, so that's very simple. Now the second question about why other nations may not have history, it's not correct. There is thousands of things that is written by different nations. Even in Egypt, they found Hebrew writing in Egypt, the archaeologists. And in the Dead Sea, you go on YouTube, they found the carriages of Pharaoh. They found the carriages, they found the wheels. There's Christians and Gentile scientists who investigate all kinds of things, and they find things that proves that the Jews were in Egypt. So just because there are others who claim there's no indication, that's not a scientific proof. There are evidence that the Jews were in Egypt. That's all. So, if you have a doubt, go to YouTube and find discoveries. They found the actual army of Pharaoh.
All the miracles in Egypt, why didn't Egypt write this?
There is a person that wrote down the 10 plagues.
Why didn't Egypt write it down?
There was a papyrus. There's a papyrus was written by an Egyptian. A papyrus describe exactly all the miracles that happened in Egypt. It's in Leiden Museum in Holland. Papyrus, 16 pages, 100% legit description of what's happening in Egypt in the year of the 10 plagues. in the papyrus in Holland in a museum.
What about the Mabel, the floods? Nothing written down anywhere. There's no history behind it. There's no story.
First of all, in ancient tribes, they found indication that there was Mabul. They found, but the problem is that after the Mabul, there's no one to testify about it except 8 people who left. You see, if it was a tragedy who affected 1 million people, the rest of the world can testify what happened. But if the entire world got wiped out, with their books, with everything, where are you going to find indication about a tragedy who wiped out humanity? You understand? I can only testify that the Twin Towers collapsed because millions of people are here to tell about it. But if it destroyed the entire world, if a bomb fell and everyone died, there's nobody to testify about a tragedy like this. If everyone in the world died and only 8 people survived, and the 8 people are believers of God, Noah and his children, who do they try to prove that there was a flood? There's nobody to prove to. That's from now on a new start.
Even though there's millions of people to testify, they're still saying the Holocaust never happened.
Yeah, even today, people already claiming there's no Holocaust.
Exactly.
As ridiculous as it is, you see already that. And you
The Holocaust, they don't believe it was an extermination against the Jews. It's not no Holocaust. It happened. Nobody's denying that.
No. Wrong. 100% wrong. I'll show you a video of people who claim there's nothing. Only a few thousand Jews died, that's it. In a war, as a part of the war. Nobody died. 6 million.
It wasn't against the Jews, it wasn't strategic planning, that's what I'm saying.
No, but the point is, you know that it's ridiculous to claim such a claim.
It happened. Nobody's denying that it happened.
No, but they are denying that it happened. They're denying, they say there was no gas chambers, no this, no that. And another 200 years from now, the majority of the goyim in the world will claim that the Jews are crazy for making up that story. Same thing like in Egypt. But I'll finish with one thing.
So why is it that the MS is so...
Well, yeah, he has a question. No, go ahead.
Question that's a little off the topic.
Yeah.
I was wondering, we're living in an interesting time right now. People are claiming it's the time of Mashiach. All the rabbis are saying it. I was wondering if you can give us your opinion, your knowledge of how significant this time is. And
the reason that people believe that we are in days of Mashiach, because according to the prophecies of the prophets, it seems that the world already came to a moment that it's mature to start all these prophecies that the prophets were talking about. For instance, 50 years ago, none of the signs that the Talmud gave existed. The Talmud gave a list of things that would happen in days of Mashiach. All of them happened in the last 30 years. 50 years ago, none of them existed. So that means in the last 30 years, which is one generation,
Like what?
They want to know, like, for example.
For example, the government of Israel will be a bunch of clowns and wicked people. You didn't have it 50 years ago. 50 years ago was respectable people. Today they beat up each other, cursing, spilling drinks in their face, jumping, the police come to stop. Arabs, terrorists sitting in the Knesset. So that's one of the signs. Another signs, everything will go up like crazy. Crazy inflation. They throw grapes to the water. There's plenty of grapes, but the prices of the wine constantly goes up. A daughter-in-law cannot stand their mother-in-law. When I was a kid, every daughter-in-law took care of her mother-in-law like her mother. And I promise you that's how it was. Also one of the signs that young kids, teenagers, will disrespect the old people. The old people will be afraid of the new generation. When I was a kid, everyone who got on a bus, every old man who got on a bus, 20 guys got up, or girls, please come sit. Today, the young teenagers get on a bus and they see an old man, hey, grandpa, get up, I want to sit. That's what's happening today. So many other signs. You can go, I have a lecture about it. I gave it in Toronto 2 weeks ago. You can see over there, I spoke about the signs of Mashiach. Now, because all the prophecies that the prophets gave of what's going to happen in the world is already became reality, which means if one of the prophets, Zachary, in Zachary 14, he writes, Zachariah, that 2/3 of the world will die instantly. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, when you say 2/3 of, which means 4 billion people can die in a minute, It looks like a theory. It's not realistic. How can something like this happen? When the Vilna Gaon wrote 250 years ago that the last war will take 9 minutes, they laughed. 9 minutes. What? With rifles that we put some powder and shoot one time, and then 15 minutes prepare and shoot another bullet? How do you destroy the world, 2/3 of the world in 9 minutes? I mean, how the last war can be 9 minutes, right? But today we understand how the last war can take 9 minutes. Plus, there is a midrash that the king of Persia will start everything. And now we see that something like this is very realistic. There's a midrash that there's arguments between the Arabs and the king of Persia. As the Arabs come to take advice from Edom, the king of Persia start a war who ignite the entire world. And there's a midrash like this. So there are many prophecies. How exactly it's going to be, Hashem didn't want us to know in details. We know roughly. Why? We don't know 100% because it eliminates the free choice. If you write the end and there's only one end, then that means there's no other possible way. But if you give 10 different possibilities, which means if you all be righteous, not one bullet will be shot. We don't need an atomic war. We don't need earthquake. It doesn't have to be. Every bad prophecy, it's conditional. Only the good prophecies are guaranteed to happen regardless of our behaving. But every bad prophecy, like Yonah in Nineveh, Hashem sent Yonah to Nineveh, he said to them, in 40 days, Nineveh will be destroyed. But the Goyim, the Gentiles, they made tshuva, they fast, they wore a sack, they put ashes on their head, and they made tshuva, and the decree was cancelled. There's other signs in the Tanakh that some decrees were cancelled. Yeah.
2 questions. I think it's the last 2 questions of the night. It's not for me, by the way. I'm not the only people text me.
You the speaker. Yes.
So one guy.
Baruch Hashem, we have text today.
One guy says that there's no. You didn't prove scientifically that besides the Torah's history, that there's any other history saying of that story that was a nation with a Har Sinai. Is there any scientific proof besides?
First of all, there are books by the Goyim that is 2,600 years old that's speaking about what happened to the Jews in Egypt. There are books like this. So we know for sure that it's at least older than 2,600 years. Well, I have
history.
There is ancient history. No, the Babylonians were 2,600 years ago, and they speak about what happened to the Jews in Egypt. Okay, now, wait.
Once this book is defined, you don't have questions. That's what he said.
Okay, now,
I have one more question at the truth. So one more question is, why doesn't it say about Mashiach in the Torah whatsoever? It's only much later came into effect, and we have to believe in this every day.
First of all, you know that the Torah is not only the written Torah. The written Torah is 1% of the Torah. 99% is the oral Torah, and the oral Torah speaks about thousands of things that the written Torah does not speak about.
Why?
Understand? Okay, now, first of all, you have to know one thing, that there are certain things in the Torah that the subject is above the average level of the people. For instance, many Kabbalistic ideas, they're not in the Torah, because they're not for every Jew. They're only for few individuals. The concept of right, first of all, in the Tanakh, you have plenty of psukim that speaks about Mashiach. It's not true that people think that the Torah doesn't speak. For instance, one pasuk say, we say it every morning in a prayer, Uva leTzion Goel, leshaveh pesha beYaakov. The Goel, the Savior, come for the Jews who make repentance. And another place it says that Aaron will sacrifice korbanot in Bet HaMikdash. Az yakriv Aaron. How is going to be? He's dead already. He never entered the Holy Land. So from here, you understand already that there will be Bet HaMikdash in Eretz Israel, and Aaron will be there, which you learn about the resurrection of the dead. You understand? But some of the questions is like asking why the sky is blue. Why the ground is brown? Why grapes are green? There's many questions that if you start with them, they're never going to end. But we have to focus on questions if the Torah is divine or not. We don't care if there is a nation who testify. It's like someone come to me and say that, this person is not a good lawyer. What I have to do, after I prove to myself that this person is a good lawyer or a good doctor, after I prove that he is, and he knows everything, it doesn't anymore matter if people back him up, not backing up, agree with him, disagree with him. It doesn't matter for me anymore. All I need is to prove for myself. When I prove that the Torah is divine, I can care less what the other nations have. Maybe they destroyed, maybe they hid everything, they don't want to back up the Jews. Remember, the Goyim did everything they can to destroy Beit HaMikdash and the Torah. So many of the things maybe in Judaism, they will do everything they can to bury. What? They're going to bring it to their people to show the people that the Jews were always right? So that's not an indication, that's not a contradiction. Yes?
You said that 2 million Jews is righteous. And from the 2 million, we don't know how much.
I say maybe they're righteous. Maybe keeping mitzvot.
It's very small.
Small amount, yes.
But your knowledge in other before was more Jews than that number?
Well,
No.
No, first of all, in the time of King Chizkiyahu, everyone was righteous. Everyone. Even the kids. Everyone. All Jews were...
How many Jews was there?
I don't know. Few millions. But
Few millions?
Yeah, few millions, but all of them were righteous. Also in the time of King Solomon, it was very high level. A few times in the history that Jews were in a high level.
High level. And Midbar were also a high level.
High level. Yeah, but made some critical mistakes.
Now we almost by the end. Maybe the best time was the first Beis HaMikdash. Because this was the more Nissan and the more Gili Shechina.
Yeah.
So Hashem created the world for 6,000 years.
Yes.
400 and something was the top of the thing. How many Jews you think gonna get to the Gan Eden?
All right. First of all, you know that in the Exodus of Egypt, only 20% came out and 80%.
Yeah.
Which means if 3 million came out, 12 millions got wiped out. 600,000 men.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, between age 20 to 60.
Yeah.
What about all the children, all the old people, the women? Minimum 3 million.
Okay.
That means 12 million died, double than the Holocaust, double. Double than the Holocaust was 6 million, minimum 12 million died in Egypt. Minimum, it could be a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay, so counting on God's mercy that all the wicked Jews will get saved, it's the most stupid thing that a person can do in history. Nothing can be more stupid than that, than counting on God's mercy, and I'll explain to you why. If in the end, when the Messiah will come, the 80% that are not keeping Shabbat or not keeping anything will get saved just like the people who gave their life for the Torah and gave up their desires or whatever will get the same end, that means that retroactive, God was the biggest liar. And that cannot be. Because God say, I'm the God of justice, who will not deprive anyone, will give the righteous what they deserve, will give the wicked what they deserve. Now, I am still a merciful God. What's my mercy? That's a big mistake. The Gemara says, "Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatran yevatru me'av," for claiming that Hashem will let us go with our sins unpunished. For that, we'll give an extra punishment for this chutzpah. So, what does it mean, merciful God? Let me explain to you what people don't understand. We have 1 million sins open right now. You live here 40 years, one sin after bar mitzvah, second, third, fourth, fifth, 1 million sins open. Hilul Shabbos, Lashon Hara, kosher, problem, women, who knows, pride, ego. So there's so many sins open. Every once in a while, we get a punishment. You lose $1,000 on the street. You don't know why you lost the $1,000 on the street. You're thinking to yourself, oh, because maybe I stole a week ago from someone in a business. Maybe that's what God punishing me. No, but it cannot. Oh, maybe it's because I wasn't a good husband. No. Maybe because I wasn't a good father. No. Maybe because I insulted that person. No. Maybe because I don't get up in the morning to pray. No. Maybe I forgot that date feeling. So you begin to think about 50 different things. And you say, maybe he punished me for this, maybe for that, maybe for this, maybe for that. You don't know what. So you improve 50 with one punishment. Technically, we deserve a punishment for every mistake. Millions of punishments. But he doesn't give it to us. He gives us one to wake us up. But in the end,
there's only a few people gonna make it.
Well, it says nobody's...
No, but in the end, when people died, they paid for everything they did not do repentance for. Everything. Tshuva. They didn't. No, so now, the fact that very few will see the Messiah is not a surprise. The Chazal spoke about it all along. They say heaven is much, much smaller because only few make it there. And most of the people don't make it there.
Is that the chosen people, the
Yeah,
Avarachman?
yeah.
So the Avarachman is only for the few people going to see Messiah and going to have the whole world, millions.
It's up to us.
Yeah,
It's in our hand. In our hand. Yeah.
But he knows everything. For them, he made the world, the Avarachman, his children, only a few should get to the higher level.
There's no choice. I tell you why. Because you know the whole concept of Mesilat Yesharim, chapter 1, why Hashem created the world, why the soul needs to be in a test, why a person has to earn all this concept. I don't want to start repeating it now. You go through first chapter in the Ramchal, you understand. Yeah. Now I'm starting where the Ramchal ends. After all that, that a person has to earn, and then God made a system of a test. Ki menaseh Hashem etchem. I'm testing you all the time. And I have to be a fair judge for Jews and for non-Jews. Everyone has to get what they deserve for good and for bad. That from that moment on, God put handcuffs on his hands. You understand my expression? It's not in my hand anymore, the world. I put it in the hand of the people. Once I wrote a sentence in my Torah that everyone must get what they earned for good and for bad, it's not in my hand anymore. Yeah, of course I want to save my son. Of course I don't want to send him to Gehenom. Of course I want everyone to see Mashiach. Of course, but it's not in my hand anymore. The only way to create a test is with reward and punishment. If there's no reward and punishment, there's no test. What do I have to lose? I'll sleep, I'll do whatever I want.
So he's going to make sure everybody makes tshuva.
Abba Rahman cry more than you for your problems. Where does it say it? Bechol tzaratam lo tzar.
He made two hard tests. Nobody does. Only a few people. That's what he wanted. Make so hard tests.
Yes.
Nobody should be able
You're right.
to make.
For that you have a good point. Everything you say so far.
It can't be. It is a mistake, something we don't know.
All right.
Something we don't know.
Time ran out, I mean, it's Sunday already now. It's Sunday already. I want to thank Barry that invited me here. Wait. Give me a minute to say thank you. I want to thank Barry Weber for inviting me here today.
Thank you, Barry.
And to Lipa.
I want to give a compliment. Somebody in my shul, I'm not going to say who was always having a lot of questions, told me you shouldn't have stopped him now because at this point no one knows how to answer. So I want to say I stopped. No, but don't worry, not you. So I just want to say thank you. We'll do this. The reason I told Mizrachi to stop is because I don't want to abuse the system. I want when I invite again him or any speaker, you should know there's limits. And then say, oh, it's going to take too long, and it's almost 2 hours.
Right.
I want to say thank you.
Everyone wants to ask questions. Can stay with me.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to. I just want to put one little cherry on the cake, and then I'm going to sell the comments. I just want to say that we are little brains, and if I want to go and become a pilot tomorrow, it's going to take me 15 years. I, Lipa Schmelters, who I'm very world famous, and I do shows, let's not kid ourselves, I'm struggling to get a GED, to practice math. I struggle to understand all these molecules that my children who are getting a better education that my father gave me, that they know. So of course I can't understand everything about the Creator and about everything. We can try to learn and ask,
Let it go.
but I'm just saying,
Let it go.
no.
Wait.
So I'm just saying, we're little human beings, we can only try, we try our best, that's it.
Zaku Baruch, thank you very much.
It's much harder than getting into college.